Today on the Stay at Home Chef, I'm showing you how to make homemade frozen pizzas. I've been making homemade frozen pizzas for quite a number of years now. In fact, I used to sell them to friends and neighbors in order to earn money for extra things. In fact, the first time I sold them was so that I could earn money to buy myself a nice medical ID bracelet, which is kind of pitiful, but also kind of cool that my friends and neighbors were so supportive that they would buy these pizzas. And they loved them too. I would make several different flavors because the topping combinations are endless on this. But it's also a super convenient thing to have on hand for those nights when you just don't want to cook or can't cook and don't even have time to go get takeout or go through the drive-thru. This is your answer, and it is so good and so easy to put together. Start by pouring 2 cups of lukewarm water into the bowl of a stand mixer. It should be just warm to the touch. If it's too hot, it'll kill the yeast. Then we're gonna put in 1.5 tablespoons of yeast, 1.5 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Last, we'll add in our flour. Flour in bread making is always an estimate, so I'm going to use about 5 cups, but you may need a little more or a little less depending on a variety of factors that are really hard to predict. You want to add in enough so that the dough doesn't stick to the sides of the bowl. You can always add in a little more flour later if you find that your dough is still just too sticky. Next, we'll go ahead and start this mixing. Start at a low speed and then slowly increase the speed until everything is mixed together and a dough ball forms and pulls away from the sides of the bowl. Then we're going to remove our dough and transfer it to a lightly greased bowl, cover it with a towel, and let it rise until it's double in size, which will take about 1 hour. After the dough has doubled in size, divide it into 3 even pieces. Then take each piece and roll it out into a 15 to 16 inch circle. Now, it's important that these are thin crust pizzas so that they can go from raw and frozen to cooked and baked without burning all of the toppings. Thin crust is the answer here. Then you'll transfer your dough to a pizza tray that you can freeze it on. Now today I'm just using these cheap aluminum trays that I bought at a restaurant supply store, but for a long time I just used a clean piece of cardboard that I cut out into a circle, and I reused them over and over and over again. Then if you're a crust lover and you want to be fancy, sometimes I roll the edges and pinch them down all the way around the edge to give it a nice crust. But this crust step is completely optional. Next, we're ready to top our pizzas, and you can top them with any sauces and cheese and toppings that you'd like. Today we're going with a straight pepperoni. I'm using my 2-minute pizza sauce, and I'll put a link in the video description to that. And spreading it out over the crust in a nice thin, even layer. Top with shredded mozzarella cheese. And then some pepperoni. Once they're all topped, just pop them into the freezer and freeze until solid. If I'm not going to use them within a week, then I pop them off the tray and wrap them in plastic wrap for longer term storage. The longest I've kept a pizza is 2 months, and it was still perfect, so they stay good for quite a while in the freezer, so you can make large batches of this and stock up at once. I already have one that's frozen to show you what to do when it's time to bake. It will easily pop off the tray and stay in a solid piece, and then just slide it onto a pizza stone. Bake your pizza on the preheated pizza stone at 500 degrees until the cheese starts to bubble and brown. For a pepperoni pizza, it takes about 10 minutes. The funny thing is, I actually started making frozen pizzas because I could never get my pizza to come off the pizza peel onto the stone. It would always just fall apart and the toppings would fly everywhere, and I ended up with a mess. So I started freezing them because I knew that then I could just place it on the stone and I could have a perfectly stone-baked pizza crust ready to go. And then I just realized how convenient it was, and I always freeze my pizzas, and I always have them on hand for quick dinners. It's super easy to pull them together on a lazy afternoon and stock up for those busy, inevitable nights that happen to every family. Thanks for watching. As always, you can find the full written recipe in the video description. Be sure to subscribe and check out the rest of my channel where you can find hundreds of restaurant quality recipes you can easily make at home. See you later.